Sarah, Joel, Betty, and the other members of the Kanyeihamba family, we are together, hanging there. I see with us leaders and officials of different arms of government, of religious organizations, of secular institutions. I see, ladies and gentlemen, mourners. I salute you all in respective capacities, seniorities, and distinction. George called me his brother, and I know that he meant it. I also know that he knew that the feeling was mutual. I've been asked to say a few words, and in order to avoid going all over the place and so on, I had written a few things. So, pardon me, let me read them. It will save some time. Today, we gather here to pay tribute to an extraordinary human being, one who has been a great friend to many of us, a passionate family man, an impactful law professional with a brilliant mind and many outstanding achievements, and a man who has been a national beacon of unwavering courage and integrity. The name Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba brings many connotations to mind: courage, defiance, bravery, resilience, patriotism, human rights activism, law professionalism, academic excellence, intellectual prowess, and that's just to mention a few. Simply put, George, as most of us prefer to call him, was a spark of human genius. Since news of George's passing 2 weeks ago, there has been a torrent of growing tributes and testimonies from his friends, from professional colleagues and acquaintances from all over the world, describing his steadfast character and formidable professional attributes, with all and each of them giving consistent consensus accounts of George's uniqueness, proficiency, dynamism, and charisma. My names are John Patrick Kabayo, as introduced. George has been a very close friend of mine, a real brother who I have known for the past 50 years. I'm grateful to Sue, Sarah, and Joel, and the family for this singular honor that I've been given in this opportunity to say a few words as we remember and celebrate the life and work of my remarkable friend. I first met George in 1975 at the University of Warwick in Coventry, in the United Kingdom, where I had just arrived as a PhD student, and at that time George had just completed his PhD in law at the same university, and was now lecturing in law at the Lancaster Polytechnic nearby in Coventry. George welcomed me and showed me the ropes. He advised me on how to survive as a postgraduate student, and you cannot imagine how relieved I was to find someone so welcoming, so forthcoming, and so selflessly helpful. Remember, this was my first time outside Uganda, arriving alone in the middle of England, completely green and completely uninitiated. He made time and helped me settle down. I believe my academic program at the University of Warwick was a success, largely because I had a vibrant start, built on sound advice and helpful guidance, and thanks to George. When in August 1982, our 6-year-old son died, George was there in every way. And as he himself said at the time, he did what any brother would do. He moved from Cardiff and stayed with us in Bristol for 3 days to help with the arrangements for our son's burial. It was a difficult time of grief and tragic loss, and George was a tremendous source of support and comfort, for which we will forever remain in his debt. George is difficult to describe in a few words. He was so many different things at the same time. He had a remarkable life with never a dull moment, a life that was filled with extraordinary accomplishments. He had a passion for excellence in many areas of endeavor. He was a highly spirited fighter in all the causes he stood for and all the adversaries he faced. He was a man of great honor and dignity who vehemently believed in justice. His contributions in various fields were monumental in impact and astounding in quality. He valued family and friendship above all else, and treated every person he met with kindness and respect. On the political front, as you know, he was one of the founders of the National Resistance Movement. but he was also one of its most ardent critics. George decried the tendency to regard political opponents as enemies. He preferred to call them competing partners with equal stakes in a progressive nation. He often argued that governance is like a train which cannot move unless all are on board, and which won't have peace on board unless everyone is in their place and there is a place for everyone. He once observed that the rights are things to be given and not taken, and often pointed out that you can't keep a man down without staying down with him. He was a consistent advocate for the unity of Ugandans, and in fact, he thought that Uganda would have fared much better if it had continued under the original NRM format as a no-party arrangement based on individual merit. It's not a secret that George was particularly vexed by the various hurdles that Uganda has experienced in its arduous journey towards democratization, including the challenges associated with the implementation of the 1995 Constitution, problems that George believed arose from a constricted and conflicted political space, excessive powers of the executive, a weak and gullible legislature, as well as a struggling judiciary. On the legal and academic fronts, it has been widely acknowledged that through his writings, legislative influence, and decades of teaching, George fundamentally shaped Uganda's legal system and jurisprudence. There is reference to his landmark judgments, which are expected to guide future generations of legal minds and serve as a testament to his brilliance and unwavering commitment to justice. He has been referred to in many media as a towering figure in Uganda's legal and academic landscape, and he has been called a towering figure, a legal luminary, an icon of law, a legal colossus, a giant of jurisprudence, a steadfast voice of justice, a fearless guardian of the Constitution, and a defender of human rights. I'm sure that his name is etched in the chronicles of Ugandan jurisprudence and constitutionalism, and confident that his legacy shall forever echo in the halls of justice. On the personal front, George was an outspoken person, but never rude or arrogant. He was approachable and never intimidating, which was remarkable, of course, for a person of such stature and caliber. He mingled with people from all walks of life. He embraced everyone with open arms. George had a unique ability to connect with people on a level that transcended the ordinary. His life was a testament to the power of positive engagement and the triumph of the human spirit. He was always a happy person. He had a great sense of humor and laughed a lot, but he was always serious in everything he did. His insightful conversations were very engaging. He was versatile, perhaps sometimes even seemingly paradoxical, and yet he was always predictably consistent. For example, he often referred to himself as a proud son of Kigezi, but he also prided himself as a dedicated subject of the Kabayo of Uganda. He would be harsh and bound for reprimand, but he also forgave easily. For example, if a child did something daft, he would say, the next minute he would pick up the child and comfort them and would not leave the child until he got a smile and was sure they were friends again. He had a fiery temperament at times and was a stickler for naked frankness and truth. He did not suffer fools gladly, and he was always at loggerheads with workers who displayed incompetence or behaved unprofessionally. But he was always fair and unbiased. He had the courage to say it as it was, and the honesty to quickly and frankly express his anger if he was disappointed with you. He did not know how to pretend or dress up anything in politeness or undue diplomacy. He was fashioned, as somebody said, fashioned best not for convenience but for conviction. George was an avid reader and a prolific writer who published numerous books. There are over 30 titles to his name, the last time I counted, and countless articles in edited journals, books, magazines, and newspapers, which lend testimony to his expertise as a talented legal professional, as a political analyst, and as a passionate human rights activist. He was a lover of art. He had a passion for music. He was devoted to literature. His home was filled with the melodies of classical music and countless books, including many on humor and, of course, on law. Finally, Losing someone close is understandably a sad and deeply emotional experience, which can make saying goodbye a somber occasion. But in my view, to truly honor a life as well lived and as fulfilled as George's has been, this occasion of saying goodbye to him should be a celebration. We should thank God that the person of George's character, of his caliber and value, blessed our times and graced our midst. We should thank God for the joy that George brought into our lives and his friends, as his country and his family. We should be thankful for the lesson that we learned from him and for his being endowed with the propensity to serve his country in positions of political and technical leadership. Today should therefore be an uplifting moment that reflects our gratitude for George's example and his legacy for excellence. This earlier in the program, Reverend Daniel Kanyeihamba asked us to observe a moment of silence, and this reminded me of the poem by Rudyard Kipling, If. I don't know whether any of you have read that poem, but the last 4 verses are the one that says, if you can feel the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds of distant worth, yours is the earth and all that's in it. There are many interpretations of it, but in my view, if George can feel the unforgiving minute, that minute of silence, when you think about it, really the world was his and everything that was in it was his. I'm privileged to have known George at close range, and I thank God for my friendship with him. I extend my deepest condolences to George's family, Sue, Sarah, Joel, and Ruth, and Betty, and to the entire community of George's friends and colleagues, as well as to the whole country. May God grant him eternal rest and continue to bless, comfort, and protect his family. I thank you.